How's it going, Jets fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Ryan Moran. Today, we want to discuss a myriad of different topics, ranging from Corey Davis, injury report, George Fant, what's his timeline looking like? Of course, Elijah Vera Tucker, one of our favorite players on this podcast. If you've been watching for a while, I think he could be all-pro level player. I think that he is an unbelievable talent. Him going down is devastating news, right along with Breece Hall, and it just hurts to hear at the end of the day. And of course, the Jets went out and made a nice little trade for James Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars, a really nice little player and a really sneaky good pickup for a really cheap price point from Joe Douglas. Love this move. We're going to talk about that. And then Adam Schefter saying last night that there's a potential trade for maybe Laramie Tunsil or Jack Conklin in the works. So, we'll discuss that, probabilities and whatnot. But, Ryan, to start things off, Corey Davis, day-to-day, status is up in the air for Sunday. How important is it that he is back, especially if they're not willing to play Elijah Moore right now?
It's very important, Alex, definitely. I think, especially now with this loss of Breece, I think the passing game is going to have to pick things up. And Corey is a guy that Zach trusts a ton, and they've, from the start, since joining the Jets last year, have had a very good chemistry between, one another. And I think that was a part of the reason the Jets struggled to move the ball so much Sunday was, not only Breece and AVT, but not having Corey there as a security blanket for Zach in the passing game. Obviously, his size, what he can do over the middle in this passing game. And really from there, obviously after we got off yesterday, it was very recently after announced that AVT was unfortunately going to miss the rest of the season. Now, I think when we heard Saleh speak after the game Sunday, you had an idea with Breece that it obviously was not looking good. And I guess that just took so much of the attention and just so much of the life out of the Jet fan base that we really didn't expect this type of result with AVT. And it came as a bit of a shock, just watching it live yesterday on the Jets website when he said that AVT was done for the year with the pec injury and he's going to need surgery. It's a tough blow, no doubt, to lose, two of your best offensive players, two of the most valuable players across this roster through this 5-2 start in 7 games at this point. But the good thing, at least George Fant is eligible to return from injured reserve this week. Now, Saleh did say yesterday he was in the building and he spoke with him, but as of right now, it's not looking great for this Sunday for Fant. And, hopefully next week against the Bills, and also Max Mitchell is very close to being eligible to return similar to Fant as well. So got to hope for those two guys. Luckily, at right guard, Nate Herbig is filled in really well. What you have from a durability standpoint with Connor McGovern and Laken Tomlinson, and that they're really always available. And what Dwayne Brown has obviously given this offensive line these last 4 games since he's come back at left tackle. This line luckily has a ton of depth to it, and Joe Douglas deserves credit that you can overcome these injuries to, really the top 5 tackles. When you look at Becton, Brown, Fant, Mitchell, and AVT obviously has played 4 different positions for this offensive line already. We haven't even had to use Dan Feeney yet. Obviously, Cedric Ogbuehi will remain the right tackle who filled in for AVT against the Broncos the other day. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. He filled in well in the game the other day. Really wasn't beat too badly or anything like that. So obviously tons of injuries, and this James Robinson trade obviously and brings a ton of excitement. To see Joe Douglas make a move so fast, I think is so encouraging and promising, and it sends a message, I think, to this team that we expect to win. As tough as it is to lose Breece, AVT, somebody like Robinson, obviously you said it gave up a 6 that can become a 5th if he eclipses 600 total yards from scrimmage, and he's a restricted free agent at the end of the year, owed minimal money, $500K, so not too much against the cap for this year. And it's definitely a needed addition to add him alongside Michael Carter and keep the a sustainable 1-2 punch that can really be electric together on the ground to continue to help Zach Wilson here as we go.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple different things, notably the offensive line with George Fant unlikely to return this week, maybe next week. Dwayne Brown stepped up big in the last couple of weeks, and Max Mitchell also getting ready to make a return at right tackle. I imagine he'll kind of just transition back to that reserve role with George Fant kind of getting back in the mix here. But the Jets offensive line is getting reinforcements. Now the question is, how do you supplement the loss of AVT? Herbig's been pretty solid this year. He's doing decently. But AVT is a monstrous loss. You can't really replace him. He's irreplaceable in terms of talent unless you're going to go get a Pro Bowl level guard, and that's not easy to do. So you're really hoping for somebody to step up here. Who do you think is that guy? Is he even on the roster?
I think like I said, with Nate Herbig, he's really done a good job. And I think we felt good about the depth of the interior with the re-signing of Dan Feeney early in the offseason and then getting Herbig. It was like late spring, early summer, and he's really done a good job at right guard. Like, he's filled in very well. you wouldn't even know it really since ABT had to change from left tackle to right tackle there in, a 3-week span. And I think you said it best, when Fant returns, he'll probably take that right tackle position. You have him and Herbig there on the right, McGovern, Lake, and then Dwayne Brown at left tackle with Max Mitchell really is that swing player. And I think even with this ABT injury, like he's so valuable and he's one of the best players on the team, undoubtedly. But can this offensive line still get by with those 5 and having Max Mitchell as your third tackle? I absolutely think so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the signing of Lake and Tomlinson's really looking good right now because, having that other guard spot locked up is essential and, you don't have to worry about it altogether. But the Jets offensive line is still capable, right? Like they're still solid even without AVT. Fans coming back, they're going to be just fine. It's a huge loss nonetheless, but I'll tell you what, let's see how this impacts James Robinson and Michael Carter. Michael Carter obviously is kind of like your scat back that can take on a workload, a workhorse load, but I just don't think that they want to put that much pressure on him, which is why they go out and get Robinson, 6th round pick. That could be a 5th round pick. Either way, Robinson is a very good player. Jacksonville's like pissed off right now. I've seen many different tweets. Like, I cannot believe that they just gave Robinson for a 6th round pick. He is a starting level running back. I mean, just go look at what, I mean, he's not Christian McCaffrey, but at the very least, Robinson's coming off the ACL tear and McCaffrey just got a ton of different draft capital, but I could totally see Robinson getting a 4th round pick. Like, I think that's pretty reasonable for him. Very solid player. He's only 24 years old. He's just hitting his like prime right now. And I don't even think he was drafted at the end of the day. Was he even drafted?
He was undrafted.
Yeah, so he was undrafted. Like this is a guy who's exceeding expectations. He's a good dude. He already has 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he's a good receiving back too. Has a touchdown through the air and 46 yards on 9 catches. With an 82% catch rate, but he's a bruiser, man. He's a very solid player, and the Jets are going to get a lot of value out of him, especially if their offensive line holds up here, and I think they will. Is he Breece Hall? No, he doesn't have that type of acceleration, doesn't have that type of vision, but he's good enough. He's a very good touchdown producer, short yardage situations. He's your guy you want there. He's the one that you want, on the goal line, big body. So I think that this is going to end up being a very good trade for the Jets. Now, will they need James Robinson next year? Probably not. I don't even know if he's under contract, to be honest with you, because he's not really on a rookie deal. I guess it's like when you're undrafted free agent, I guess it's like year by year. So he's probably just a rental for the rest of the season. Jets obviously have aspirations, winning 4 games to make the postseason, and he can help them do that. So, what are your expectations for James Robinson, the impact he could have? He's not going to replace Breece Hall, but I think he could be an incredibly valuable and an impactful player for this team moving forward.
Absolutely. I think you said it best, Alex. I mean, you don't just want to put so much pressure all of a sudden on Michael Carter and Ty Johnson. And I think while you can't replace Breece Hall because those players like him are just so rare from a talent standpoint, you just want to, make things a little bit easier and take some of the load off of, 1 or 2 guys. And I think that's exactly what Robinson provides. Like I said yesterday, you can't forget like what Michael Carter did last year was so encouraging. And I think we can really feel great about him. And, it'll probably be a 50-50 split. Like it was a little bit more, I guess you could say 70-30 Hall to Carter. And I think, Carter's reps will definitely go up and they should. I mean, obviously Robinson's got to come in and pick up the playbook here, within the next couple of days, the big game at home on Sunday. But you said it. I mean, the power that this guy provides, he's 5'9", but 220 pounds, doesn't offer that speed. I mean, he's got 4.6 speeds, but I think the guy that really offers that home run hitting ability, like I said yesterday, is Ty Johnson. That explosiveness, the long speed, the acceleration. He's kind of that guy who I think takes that aspect of what you lose in Breece, just the big play threat ability. And you look at Robinson's production, I mean, over 1,000 yards as a rookie, undrafted free agent on a team that won 1 game and averaged 4.5 yards a carry, had 7 touchdowns that year. 2021, his rushing yardage went down, but his touchdown amount went up from 7 to 8. His yards per attempt went up from 4.5 to 4.7. Really just came as, less carries in that 21 season, why his rushing yardage went down. But the receiving production, 49 catches, 344 yards and 3 touchdowns as a rookie. Had 31 catches, I want to say, for like 220 yards his second year. So this is a guy who can help as a receiver as well for Zach Wilson, where, Breece was definitely valuable as well. And I think it just, like I said, Carter's role will increase, and it should, absolutely. But it just kind of, makes things a little bit easier, I think, on the offense as a whole to add somebody like Robinson to fill that void of Breece.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said before, he's not replacing him, but he can fill the void at the very least and offer you a starting level running back. And if the Jets do want to go down the road of trading for more talent, as I mentioned before, Schefter said Laramie Tunsil, Jack Conklin. Do you really need them if Fant is coming back? You know what I mean? Like, do you really want to spend? You have Max Mitchell coming back too. Like, he looked pretty good before he got injured. I would go as far as to say I don't think it's necessary. If you're going to trade for somebody, it probably should be an offensive guard. It shouldn't be a tackle. Herbig's decent. He's not IVT, but he's decent. That's just my perspective. I know they have a lot of injuries, and you have guys coming back though. You can't trade for a tackle when you just went and traded for Dwayne Brown. You can't give up all your draft capital, and then the Jets traditionally have a lot of good capital, but maybe they do end up trading Elijah Moore, and yet they end up getting something back, and they end up flipping that into a guard. Who knows? There's so many different things that they can do here. But altogether, I don't necessarily feel as though the Jets are in a bad spot. I don't think that they are in a spot where they're going to compromise their success they've already built up to this point because they lost a couple of players. Good coaching finds ways around it, as we talked about in the other day's episode. So right now, I feel pretty confident the Jets are going to find a way to overcome this. They got some good talented players back. They have a lot of guys coming off injury who they didn't have before. This is a team on the up. It's not on the down. And I think that the coaching will help everybody elevate. They'll get the most out of every single player. So I feel pretty confident. What are your thoughts on Tunsil, Conklin rumors, and if you think there's any actual weight to them?
I'm with you. I don't necessarily see the need, obviously, to hear that and just to know like how aggressive Joe Douglas is. I think it's very exciting to know that he is all in and he knows how good this team is and what it can accomplish the rest of the way. But I'm with you with Fant Mitchell returning imminently here. I don't necessarily see it as a pressing need. And I don't think you want to get into, especially when you look at how well the Jets' last two draft classes have been, I don't think you want to get to a point where you're mortgaging future draft capital when the position's not a glaring need. Like, as I said earlier, the 2 points, AVT, you don't replace his versatility, his dominance, his willingness to play at whatever position in a pinch on the fly for this team. But the group as a whole, with Herbig, with Mitchell, with Dwayne Brown, with Lakin, with McGovern, Fant returning soon, like there is a group collectively here that can more than, get the job done for this offense. And I think, like I said, Joe Douglas has done such a good job with the depth across this roster to the point where they can overcome these injuries time and time again. And like I said, it's encouraging, and you want to see the aggressiveness in a win now, mode type on this type of a team. But I don't necessarily see it as something, like you said, that has to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, I love to hear your perspectives below on some of these topics. James Robinson, the value he's bringing. I'm curious to see what you guys think about his qualities and if you think he can be a good player for this team. Obviously, the guard situation. Who would you prefer to be there? I think Herbig obviously is the guy who's going to get the first crack at the job. Has had some experience there this year already. Tunsil, Jack Conklin. What are your thoughts on them? Do you think it's necessary to go after another tackle if you kind of need interior help? I think that getting some of these healthy guys back is going to really help this Jets offense and really help Zach Wilson at the end of the day. And he's the one that needs to step up now. We've talked about this the other day, and Zach is the guy that needs to step up. He's got to get better in the passing game. He's got to supplement maybe the reliance on the running game with more accurate throws, whatever it might be. So we'll see how he responds to all these injuries and all of this kind of stuff accumulating heading into week 8 right now. But of course, as always, my friends, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode.